Welcome back to another Spirit Island video. In this video, we are going to be covering my matchup axis. Now, the matchup axis has been something that I've been working on for a long time now, at least 4 years, on and off. And it's finally here, and I'm calling it a 5-star system. And this is going to include the Nature Incarnate, Horizons, Jagged Earth expansions, pretty much every spirit in the game, every aspect, it's here and it's updated. So what is the matchup axis if this is your first time seeing it or coming across this? It is a spirit versus adversary compilation that assesses a spirit's capability and likely success against a level 6 adversary in a multiplayer setting. What I'm looking for is how does Spirit X perform against Adversary Y in a multiplayer setting without getting help from other spirits? Now, a few things that are really important here. First, it's in a multiplayer setting, so that means there's going to be a larger fear pool. So strategies that rush the fear deck are going to be less effective unless everybody's doing it. We're assuming we're in a vacuum, like a random team. Another thing would be it's a multiplayer setting, so that means there's going to be more boards connected, which means you're going to have more adjacencies, which could matter maybe against Habsburg livestock or England or those specific adversaries where adjacency really matters. So in a multiplayer setting, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. And since you're not getting support, it means once you start falling behind on your board, your spirit or the spirit needs to find the answers. And if it can't, it's going to be rated lower. Now, of course, this is looking at consistency. All because something is rated low on this list doesn't mean you can't win the game with it. It just means you're going to win a lot less compared to stuff that's rated higher up. Now, this axis was previously scored on a 1 to 10 scale. I've now changed it to a 0 to 5. I go into this a little bit more in detail in the Reddit post that I'll leave in the description that kind of talks about the history and has more words to the document for people who don't want to listen to this video. But I decided to go towards the a smaller system just to simplify it. I think it's easier for the average player to consume the document if it's condensed. Now, if there's enough complaints or enough criticism to where people really want to see a more accurate axis, then I might either change it to a 1 to 10 or I'll add a plus minus system. But we'll talk about that at a later date. But yeah, so basically we're looking at a spirit versus adversary, and how well is that spirit going to perform against that adversary. Now, this is a document that I've had a lot of help from the community, as well as my play group, my in-person play group, as well as my Discord play group. These are some very experienced players. I don't know how to play every spirit well, and this document is assuming you're playing the spirit at the best that that spirit can play at. And I've been able to use their feedback, and these are people that I trust to help put this document together. Now, this axis is different than my tier list, so that's the biggest, I guess, the biggest point of confusion I see in the community. The tier list is looking at everything in Spirit Island combined. I'm looking at support. I'm looking at blight taken, fear generated, ability to combat adversaries. I'm looking at everything, and then I'm assessing it. That is the tier list. The axis is just looking at a single adversary and how that spirit is performing against that adversary. So I'll leave my updated tier list as well in the description if you want to see where I put the overall where I put all the spirits rated. So okay, looking at here, so this is the updated criteria. Like I said, I'm moving from a 1 to 10 scale and I'm going to a 0 to 5. Let's see. So, reading matchup axis, I have all of these spirits listed based on the expansion that they come in. Now, because the aspects are scattered everywhere, I've just decided to list the aspect under wherever the spirit came from. So, spirits from the base game, like lightning here, this is going to have aspects in the Jagged Earth expansion, but also the NI expansion. Rather than dividing everything, I just put it underneath the wherever that spirit came from. The new lettering system, we're going from a F to S. So this is your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there's 6 different tiers that a spirit can be placed into. And these are the different tiers. So The highest tier, S tier, so this is the spirit is going to trivialize the adversary matchup so much that it positively affects other spirits. It feels like the spirit counters the adversary. The spirit should never lose this matchup outside of fixed luck. Fixed luck, I'm referring to if someone stacks the invader deck, stacks everything. If all of the luck is against you, that is when I expect you to lose. Outside of that very rare instance, you should pretty much always win when the spirit is played at its highest potential. Looking at A tier, this is the spirit wins against the adversary comfortably. The adversary matchup is simple once the player learns it. The spirit should rarely lose outside of fixed luck. Very similar to S tier, except I put rarely instead of never. Rarely is in like the France edge cases that do come up every once in a while, like the disease ignore or the map makers, stuff like that. That S tier spirits couldn't really fight through. That's where you'd fall into A tier. B tier, this is the spirit adversary matchup is difficult. If played well, the matchup will generally be a win. This is what I consider to be my gold standard where I think a spirit versus adversary should be rated. I think that this is where the matchup is interesting. There are a lot of decision points. Not to say that there isn't decision points up here. It's just that at B tier, there's a lot more tension that you get that you don't get in these higher tiers. Now I have different colors listed for S, A, and B, and those are going to be different blue hues. I had one of the players help me pick out the colors as I am colorblind, and I want this to be easier to read. So we used a colorblind system for us people that are struggling to see the different colors. So S, A, and B will be in blue. C, D, F will be in red. So C tier, the spirit versus adversary matchup is challenging. Even with precise play, games can be lost. So even if you're playing really well, there's still that chance that you lose. There's a good balance between winning and losing, and then a little bit of support helps stabilize the spirit and makes it feel like a B tier spirit. D tier, the spirit versus adversary matchup is close to hopeless. The spirit is expected to lose the matchup unless it receives substantial support or gets lucky with Spirit Island RNG elements such as favorable drafts or favorable events. And finally, the F tier. This is Spirit versus Adversary matchup is hopeless. This is when even if you give the spirit support, it doesn't give favorable results. You're better off supporting other spirits at the table. Basically, they're dead weight that's just at the table looking for a win. I want to use this rating pretty rarely. I feel like almost every spirit in the game can offer something to a team, but there are some specific matchups where it just feels so bad that spirit is on the team, and those are going to be our F tier spirits. So you're either going to see one of these letters. There is another symbol that I'm also bringing into the axis, and this is an asterisk. So some letters have asterisks next to them. This is a special indicator that signals to the reader that they should expect to struggle a lot to get the spirit to perform at the level indicated on the axis. What does this mean? So if I have something listed as a B star, it means when it's played at its absolute best, you'll get a B rating. But the star is indicating that the matchup is a little bit more challenging, especially if you're picking up the spirit for the first time. And it might feel like a C or a D tier spirit or a D axis, matchup axis. So, but once you refine the matchup, once you refine how you play the spirit, you'll eventually get to that B rating. Once again, all because something is rated low or high doesn't mean you can't win or lose. So let's look at the documents. So it's a 5-star system. Over here, I have the base spirits. We have all of the lightning, the river, the earth, and the shadows. I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just going to showcase or talk about the axis a little bit more and how to read it. So as I said, you're going to have your spirit over here. Your adversaries will be up here, and then the matrix will show you the rating of that matchup. Now, I've also associated points to each of the different tiers, and you can see that over here. The sum column, and gosh, I really hope the sum column is accurate. I have added the sum column in at one point, but then of course stuff changes as it's getting refined, so the sum column might be a little bit off. If it is, please leave a message so I can correct it on my document. But essentially what the sum column is I'm adding up the numbers across here. So the B would be 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, and 2, and hopefully that gets me 14. So now we have lightning. So as you can see, we have the sum rating of 14, and then we have 22, 16, 14, and 28. And sparking is at the top, and that does not surprise me. If you look at my tier list, you'll know that sparking is fairly high up on my tier list. So what do you know? It has a 28 sum, and I actually found this really interesting because I did the tier list, and then now when I revised this axis and I added these sums, I found it to be very interesting that things actually lined up quite nicely. There's a couple spirits that kind of stand out as they don't follow the norm, but like this makes sense, right? Sparking Lightning, I have it listed pretty high up. It's an A tier. It's 28. 28 is a pretty good score based on the numbers. Oh, this is another thing I should probably mention. It's written in the document, but I think 25 average is like a good number for a well-balanced spirit. So if you're above that, 25, then that means you're probably pretty overpowered. If you're below it, you're underpowered. A max score, that's assuming you get S's into all 8 matchups. That means it's going to be 40. And then, of course, the lowest score is 0. There are no 40s. I think the highest is a 35, I believe, at the point at the time of recording this video. And I think the lowest is a 6 with sunshine. But yeah, so sparking lightning, 28 rating. Let's see. So looking at travel, it doesn't surprise me that travel is this high. It did surprise me that Haven ended up getting a fairly high value, and I have Haven rated at the end of B tier. So actually, let me load that up for you guys to see. Okay, I am back with it loaded. This is definitely something I got to get better at. I don't write scripts for my videos. I just kind of I wing it. I do this as a hobby, so sometimes stuff is left out. Yeah, I also don't edit my videos either. So um, okay, so I have my tier list over here on the left, and I have the axis over here. So like I had mentioned, sparking, which is over here in A tier at number 18, does not surprise me that, oh wait, it also scored really high. But I did mention how travel, 24 sum, is listed at 15 on my tier list. And look at Haven. Haven is also 24 sum, but it's at the bottom of B tier. And actually, as I'm recording this video, I just got a good idea. I wonder if I should possibly add another column to my axis that would indicate where it currently is standing on the tier list. That actually might be really cool. Well, maybe I'm not gonna go back through and do this. That's way too much work. But maybe the next axis I'll indicate that. So okay, looking at the Earth, we have Vital Earth 17, Might is 23, which makes sense. Resilience 19, and Nourishing 31. I thought this was also interesting. Resilience, I had rated so low in F tier, and actually, based on these sum values, I had to adjust Resilience because, like, it's not that bad. I mean, it's a bad spirit. Okay, let's be honest here. Well, it's not so bad where it's like at the very bottom of F tier. Um, it actually has some pretty decent matchups. I played it in the HME. Sweden and Scotland felt pretty good. I bet Habsburg Livestock is playable. So I think I mean, it's better than the Shadow matchups. Like, Shadow's just garbage. So, okay, so Nourishing, this also doesn't surprise me. Look at 31 rating. Like I said, the highest on the list is 35. 31, and like I went through all of these values. I mean, it's pretty accurate. Like, it's busted into Scotland. It has great matchups into pretty much everything. The only negative is really that England matchup, and that's because Nourishing doesn't add a lot of fear. So it's hard to close out games. But against everything else, it's pretty much a cakewalk. Now we have shadows flicker like flame, and flame is in a bunch of different colors of red and orange. Yeah, I mean this is it's pretty bad. A lot of sevens, a lot of nines. Darkfire at 12, and I was even told by some shadow mains that I'm even being generous here. They think that the numbers should probably be a little bit lower. But yeah, who knows? This is what it will look like at this time. Let's now flip over and look at. Actually, we'll keep going down here. So base game, we have our moderates and our highs. We have Thunder Speaker green, Night Bringer and Ocean. You'll see that Thunder Speaker 26 right in the middle, so probably a balanced spirit, maybe. Warrior Tactician, these are two spirits that I don't play much at all, so these are kind of estimated, also feedback from other players. Green, this is a spirit I play quite a lot. A little bit lower axis numbers. Oops, I wasn't supposed to do that. Yeah. So a little bit lower axis numbers compared to a spirit like Nourishing, but still incredibly high 30, 28, and 33. Interesting enough, Regrowth is number 2 on my tier list, despite having the lowest value out of the 3. And that's just showing you that my tier list is factoring in combos, it's factoring in a higher difficulty where skips are more valuable, while the axis is looking at specific matchups. Regrowth has huge problems into both Russia and HMA. Like, really play the matchup in a multiplayer game and you'll see what I mean. Not like it's unwinnable, it's just very challenging, and that's because you lack that defend. So getting counterattacks against HME is important, and then also Russia can be a significant problem as well, clearing those lands in time. And then Tangles has the best rating, and that's because Tangles is so strong into all the adversaries. I actually think it's better than base green, but you'll see Tangles is listed as number 22 on my tier list. And that's because it loses Gift of Proliferation, so it loses that supporting power that makes green such a powerhouse. Okay. Looking at the bringers, looks like Nightmare, so Base Bringer is at 12, that makes sense. Both Enticing and Violence are listed at 22 and 16, and they are in the middle of B tier. There might be a chance that Violence numbers are a little bit higher, or maybe I have Violence a little bit too high up in the tier list. But having a 16 sum despite being in middle B tier seems kind of questionable, though Violence does offer a ton of support to the team and also can do some pretty nasty things. Ocean being at 16, 17, I think that's actually pretty accurate, especially when you look at all of the matchups. Sweden, Livestock, HME, these are all really brutal matchups for Ocean, especially when you do the edge case explorers. I've talked about this in some of my other matchups, but like play Ocean, play board E, and play Wetlands starting into Sweden 6. Try that challenge and you'll see what I'm saying and why I rate it as a D rating. And you can even do it solo. You'll see what I'm saying. You'll take like 5-6 blight off the first Ravage cycle, which is game losing. So okay, looking at the branch and claw spirits, we have both Sharp Fangs and Keeper. I had the Discord owner they're the one that did the Fangs guide. They're the Fangs specialist that you can find. This is where the numbers all lasted, and it all ended up at 25-26, which makes sense. A lot of players in the community believe that Fangs is one of the most balanced spirits in the entire game, and it ended up being 25, and it makes sense, right? 25 is that, like I said earlier, that's like your baseline, like that is where things feel pretty fair. And yeah, so 25 is what I'm considering to be like the good your ideal for a most balanced spirit. So Keeper, we have Base Keeper at 30 and Spreading Hostility at 23. You can see the data here. One of the things is I actually think Keeper's Sweden matchup is better than what I've been saying. I've played it a bunch on digital. I played it a bunch with my group, and I think it's pretty favorable. It's kind of crazy. I used to think it was a terrible matchup, unwinnable, but if you can avoid that edge case explorer on some of those boards, you're in pretty good shape. And even if you do get it, you still have plenty of drafts to look for an answer. So, okay. Moving up here to the horizons. Oh no, I cut off the sum. Okay, let me reload again. Okay, we are back with the sum columns. Okay, so we have the horizon expansion over here at the very top. And this also makes sense, right? We have Devouring Teeth with a sum of 20, and I have Devouring Teeth pretty low in D tier. We have eyes at the very top at 32, which is kind of crazy. Maybe I'm undervaluing it here, but I mean, it's just is very strong, very, very good matchups, generates fear. Mud 24, Whirlwind 25, Rising Heat 29, and this kind of matches up with my tier list. I'll let you guys look at the numbers. Looking at the Jagged Earth spirits, we have Stone, Trickster, Many Minds, and Volcano. 33, 30, 34, and 30. This all makes sense. It ends up matching up with our data, right? Many Minds is a very strong spirit. It's in high up S tier. Same, Stone is in X tier, but at 33 as well. I actually think Many Minds might be the best solo spirit in the entire game. It's definitely up there. Hearth Vigil is another one that's just so strong. We have Shifting and also Mentor 17 and 12. It's interesting. I have Mentor having a worse sum than base memory, but I have it listed higher on my tier list, and that is because Mentor support is so strong and the sum values are lower, even though its kit is relatively the same. You are losing 50% of your drafts, so you're 50% less consistent than base memory. Intensify is just a complete monster. 28. It's sitting in A tier, as you guys know, number 19 out of a total of 68. We have Lure as well as Lair, 29 and 24. So Vengeance, 28, Shroud, 18, and a 26. So I had Ray put together these numbers. Once again, I've had several members of the community help me put this entire list together. Okay, so looking at the Feather and Flame expansion, we have the Wildfire and the Trans Wildfire, 18 and 24. Serpent, we have 23, Locust 12, Downpour 33, and Finder at 30. So Finder's sum value is pretty freaking high at 30. Maybe it's too high, or maybe Finder should be higher up on the tier list. Not sure. And looking at the NI spirits, look at Hearth Vigil is the highest on the list at 35, which should not surprise you. Oh, and actually, Relentless Gaze has 35 as well. So both very, very powerful spirits. Ember-Eyed Behemoth is at 31. Roots is at 31. Wandering Voice 22. Wounded Waters at 16. Darkness at 26. And Earthquake at 31. So interesting enough, a lot of people consider Darkness to be one of the more balanced spirits from NI, and look at that. It falls into that right around the 25 range. And then, interesting enough, a lot of people talk about power creep in the expansion, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, but the numbers don't lie. So it tend to be pretty significantly higher than some of the other expansions. I'm trying to find Jagged Earth. There we go. Jagged Earth is over here. Here are the numbers. Well, then again, they also had some pretty high numbers up here. Maybe not. Yeah, because look at Stone, Trickster, Many Minds, and Volcano. Maybe I take back that comment. I guess it's slightly higher. But okay, well, that concludes this video. I wasn't going to go through each individual matchup and tell you why I have it where it is. That's just way too much work. There's 68 different things, so it's 68 times 8. That would take a whole lot of time, and I don't think you guys would get much value out of that. I'll have the complete document posted on my YouTube channel for you guys to find. In addition, you guys will have the Reddit post that we posted that you can always go back to the information. So let's see, is there anything else? Am I missing? I think I have everything here. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more content. I will see you guys in the next video.